Hello. Sorry about that. Welcome back to Ladies Night, where you get the woman's insight. Thank you so much for tuning back in on this lovely Saturday. Not sure if it's lovely where you are, but the weather where I am is lovely. But thank you for coming back. I am your host, First Lady Tammy, for our lovely women's stream. And these are my beautiful ladies that are here to join me once again. So happy to see them once again. How are you all ladies feeling? Mrs. M3, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. Kris the Bloom and Ebony, how are you feeling? Oh, well, we can't hear you, Kris. I'm sorry. I don't know. You're not. There
Sorry,
you go.
Is that good? I'm doing well. Thank you. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Oh, thank you. And then we have Miss Petty Penny. I'm not sure if she can hear because I know she was having concerns about her the speaker or the mic. I'm not sure. But Miss Petty Penny, otherwise known as Luann Love, if you can hear me, we hope that you're having a wonderful weekend so far and a wonderful week. We had Damo, but she will be back, I'm sure. So today is a little bit different than what we've done before. Today we're going to be reacting to a video that was shared by one of our lovely panelists. And we decided that, today is going to be a little bit different rather than us just having this topic and some questions. We have this video. Oh, there is the Queen Dom. There's the Queen Dom. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm here, but it's my day off, so I was day drinking, so my video's off for a second while I get my life together. With some
No problem. No problem. But yeah, so we're going to be reacting to this video that was shared by one of our lovely panelists. And it is regarding dating advice, and it is by someone named Stephan Speaks, very popular YouTube person who has a podcast, and he does a lot of different videos. So we're not going to play the entire thing because the entire thing is actually about 35 minutes, which is a long time to cut into our lovely video. So we're not going to play the entire thing, but we will play about 6 or 7 minutes of it for you guys to kind of get the idea about what the video is about. So in a couple minutes, we're going to go ahead and share it. Just want to say shout out to Gator Girl. She said, oh, yes, it's ladies' night, and the panel's right. Peace, queens. Hope you all had a blessed week. Yes, we all had a great week. Hope you also had a great week. Thank you again for tuning in. We always love it when you tune in. And you are more than welcome when that link pops up to pop into the stream and add your voice live to what we are discussing. So Other than that, yeah, we're gonna play the video in just a second so we can get it popped up so you guys can get a chance to watch the video that we got to see, and you guys get to hear our feedback on the video. So as I said, we're gonna play about 6 or 7 minutes of the video. For everybody who's on here, if we could just keep our mics muted, and I'll keep mine muted as well, and we'll go ahead and play the about 6 or 7 minutes of the video.
Some of you are coming to this video for this information, but there's something else you need to hear. So be sure to stay tuned. But let's get to it. Number one on the list of ways to make him worry about losing you is to be his peace. Now, I know some of y'all already shaking your head like, give me a break. Why I gotta be his peace? Why can't he be my peace? Listen, you came to find out how to make him worry about losing you. So, yes, you need to be his peace. Peace is something that men crave. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of men aren't getting it. A lot of men are in a relationship with a woman who may be a good woman, quote unquote, but that relationship is not filled with peace, not filled with joy. And so when there isn't peace, why would someone crave holding on to that? Why would someone be worried about losing that? If anything, they might be wondering, how the hell do I get out of this? Because nobody wants to come home to war. Nobody wants to deal with their woman being difficult and negative and all these things that only create more problems. No man wants to have to embrace a negative woman. So when you can learn to be his peace, you strengthen the relationship. But listen, it's not just about being his peace. How about be your own damn peace? You need peace. You can't be his if you're not yours. You got to understand how this works. You can't fake manufacture being this peaceful woman who brings joy and love when from within you are battling your own demons. You are going through your own issues. So please understand, because again, like I said, this isn't just about tips and tricks. This is about healthy things that are going to create healthy relationships. And that starts within you. So make sure if you need to go to counseling, go to counseling. If you need to resolve some things within you that's throwing things off, which I'll mention later about the things that we eat, how we our sleep, things of that nature that can really sway us in the right or wrong direction. Look at all of these things. Start to create that peace and joy within yourself so that it naturally comes out. So you won't find yourself trying to force yourself to put a smile on your face when you're not feeling that way. Now, some of you might be saying, how the hell am I going to be his peace when he brings me chaos, when he brings me nonsense, when he's the one causing problems? Well, again, I got an answer for that at the very end of this video, because there's a really simple answer. But again, we're going to leave that to the end of the video. Back to being his peace. At the end of the day, I can tell you from sitting down with so many men, and let me just give this important part, because I'm very big on connection, all right? And one of the things that I've seen with men who felt like they had a connection with a woman is that they all mentioned that they felt peace in her presence. So I'm only bringing that up simply because you can't force a connection. You can't just manufacture one. But the bottom line is, I want you to understand how peace is a part of the equation for a man to even feel like, damn, this is the one. This is the one I cannot let go. So if you want him to worry about losing you, find a way to be his peace. But again, be your own peace as well. Number two on the list that pretty much goes hand in hand with be his peace is speak love and positivity into that man. Now, listen, even though I have a video about not dating mama's boys, right? I want you to understand that
These two lovely humans are Matt and Elizabeth. They're polyamorous.
some men, not all men, but the reason why some men become mama's boys, become so attached to their mothers, is because she is that peace. She is speaking that love and positivity. She is the encourager. She believes in him. She uplifts him. These things draw that man to his mother, and they can draw him to you. When you become the source of positivity and love, he wants to be around you. When he has to go to work and deal with the nonsense of work, but he knows he has a woman that when he's in her presence, only speaks love and positivity into him, he wants to be there. He doesn't want to be out and about when he can be relaxed next to the woman that makes him feel good. So learning how to speak love and positivity into that man, learning how when you guys are discussing things, not to go to the negative, not to always sound so pessimistic. It doesn't mean that you cannot be honest about how you feel. And sometimes your honest feelings may come across as negative or pessimistic. But again, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And learning how to convey your message in a more loving, peaceful, feminine manner is going to go a long way. And
Alrighty, so that's all we're gonna play of that video. As I said, it is about 35 minutes long, which is a long time if we were gonna play the whole thing. I kind of wanted to play it so that we could kind of get the gist of yes, Gator Girl, lots to unpack. Yes. So just to get the gist of kind of what he was talking about, want to say shout out to E Black TV. He says, "Hey ladies, hey E Black, thank you for tuning in." And we got DJ Eddie King who is tuning in. He says, like and subscribe. He says, "Hello ladies, hello DJ Eddie King. Thank you for watching." Definitely, you guys, when you are watching this, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe to Knowledge and Relationships. Make sure you share this video. Hit that thumbs up so you can definitely see more of what we have to offer. So we got more to offer than just Saturdays. We got stuff to offer on Mondays, on Thursdays, and sometimes on some other days. So anyway, we're gonna get right into the questions that we have in reaction to this video. But yes, like Gator Girl said, a lot to unpack, and that was only just the beginning of it. There's more of the video. You guys can definitely catch the video. We'll post a link to that video if you want to watch the entire thing. But yeah, definitely a lot to see. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into our questions. And the first question is, give us your thoughts on the video. So as you guys can see, there's only 4 of us right now, but we got people always popping in and popping out. So when people pop in, we'll go ahead and let them give their thoughts. So Mrs. M3, what are your thoughts about the video? What do you think?
I've watched the video a few times now, and I think he is helping in a lot of ways for us to see the perspective. I mean, as far as he's saying, it's not just his view, but men that he's also talked to. So in that regard, I think that being able to objectively listen and then start applying some of the things before dismissing them is really beneficial, and see how it works for your own life and your own relationship. I mean, regardless of who you date and when you date, every relationship will be different and every dynamic is different. And he actually mentions even to the point of fitness, some men like women that are thick, and other men like women that are slim. So he's not going to give advice like go and lose a bunch of weight when your man likes to be thick, to each their own. And so I really enjoyed the video. I watched the whole thing a couple times, and I think it's really good, beneficial advice.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. Alrighty, Kris, what are your thoughts on the video?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mrs. M3. The video is surface level. So he's just kind of giving his initial thoughts as to where women can start. I think, of course, he's more so highlighting the issues or the problems that he's noticed. And he's sort of giving solutions, but they're very surface level. And so I think that this video is helpful because I think it will allow women to know a little bit more and see a little bit more into how men think and how simple they are. A lot of these things that he was listing were very, very simple. Peace, take care of yourself, don't let your emotions control you. Very, very simple. Yet these are things that as women that we miss. One thing that he said is that we're not very transparent, and we may not listen very well when they tell us what they want. We don't really want to hear it. And so I was going back to what Mrs. M3 said about being objective, being open to these things, and just respecting men's preferences, I think is just a good place to start. So being able to even click on this video and watch it all the way through I think is a great start.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Kris. Queen Dom. Are you there, Queen Dom? Can you hear me?
Hey, I'm here.
Hey. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the video?
Okay, I'm sorry, ladies. I didn't even watch the whole video, so I just want to be clear that my answers are based on the parts that I did watch. I got like halfway through it. With these videos, for me personally, maybe this is what I have to always remember, that everyone's not the same. Maybe there are women who need these things, but for me personally, like when he says, don't be someone's piece or whatever, if someone's your friend, your brother, your mother, your man, your whatever, that's just normal. Like, I don't think it's something that like is a secret way. Like, you should be the person that, if you love someone, you should try to be their peace. And if that person is doing something to make you not be peaceful, then you're not going to be peaceful. And that's just it. I don't know. So I just feel like I don't know. These are not secret ways. These are just normal things that some men want you to be peaceful. Some men like you to yell. Like, I got an uncle who loves women who yell. Like, that's just it. Like I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't really have. I just don't want to laugh. This is funny to me. Sorry. That's what it is. Yeah. That's it. Sorry. I'm done.
No, you're good. You're fine. Thank you, Queen Dom. Having a different perspective and view is always definitely welcome. So, Miss Petty Penny, not sure if you are there, if you can hear us, but if at some point you can give us an indication that you can, that would be great. So we could, see if you have anything to say. I will go ahead and give my feedback. I thought the video was a good video to watch. I do feel that there is some women it may not necessarily apply to because they may be doing those things. So they may say, yeah, I agree with that because, I do those things. Whereas there may be some women that they're not doing those things. And then hearing that, they're like, oh, wow, I realized I could do it. And then there's others that will be like, I'm not doing all that kind of stuff because I know what I need to do. And I'm not going to listen to no man telling me what I need to do. So I do think that, when it comes to what a man wants, you can't necessarily go off of what you think. It's always best to ask rather than assume. So I think videos like this are helpful for the women that need it. And for the women that think they don't, then hey, I can't remember who said it, but I think it was Mrs. M3 said to each their own. Because I truly think it is, to each their own. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. Yeah, those are my thoughts. So nice ladies. One day say shout out to MarioMarion. He is tuning in. He said hello, and we're saying hello to him. So all righty. So if nobody else has anything to add, we'll go ahead and go on to our next question. Our next question. All righty. So out of the 9 things he stated, which of them resonated with you the most? So I will go ahead and go first. So one of the things that I liked that he said in the video when he was saying about being a man's piece was that he also said for you to be your own piece. And I like that he said that because I feel that when you're dealing with your own things, it's hard for you to be the piece for somebody else. And you need to work on yourself. And I talk a lot about trauma and how when we don't deal with trauma, it presents itself, in unexpected ways and at unexpected times. And a lot of people don't want to deal with those things. And so when you have your own, like he said, demons, it's hard for you to really be a piece for somebody else because you're not even a piece for yourself. So that was one of the things that I really liked that he said, because especially if he's dealing with a whole lot of negativity and things at work, he wants to come home and not have to deal with that at home. So it's nice to have a peaceful home so that doesn't have to occur. I do think that, he can also be our piece. So I do think this thing that we can be for each other. But I do think that in order to be somebody else's piece, you have to be that piece for yourself in order for you to be able to be the piece for somebody else. So, it's a matter of, you can't ask to be something for somebody else if you're not even doing that for yourself. So I feel like, there was a lot of different things that he said in that video that I thought were actually pretty good. The first one, though, I thought was really nice. And like I said, I like the fact that he not only said be that for him, but also be that for yourself. So it's not just a matter of, well, let me tell you what you need to do for him. It's also, don't forget about you. And that's where we've talked before about self-care and how it's important to do self-care and practice that. I feel like that's a way of practicing self-care, is when you learn how to be your own peace. So that was one of the things I liked about the video. And Greater Girl says, thank you, First Lady. Peace is a two-way street. It absolutely is. You know, I want him to be my peace as well. But in this particular video, he's talking about from a man's perspective, but each man says, because he's telling you what he needs. And he said even in there that he sat down with so many different men, and he feels that this is something that most of them have said. So that was something that I liked. I also like when he said about speaking positivity into your partner, because nobody really likes negativity. I mean, well, let me take it back. There's some people that do. There's some people that thrive on negativity, thrive on drama and negativity. But there's, when it comes to a relationship and a relationship that works, I feel like part of the reason why it works is because you speak positivity into each other. So don't forget about speaking positivity into him, and also speaking positivity into yourself. So I do feel like the things that he says are things that you should definitely be doing for yourself anyway. And I feel like if you're doing it for yourself, then it's not going to be a problem to do it for somebody else. And I mean, if I'm in a relationship, I don't want it to be chaos and a whole bunch of craziness. I want it to be nice, peaceful, positive. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that that's what it is. So there was, like I said, there was a lot of things that he said in there. He said peace and joy within yourself. So there were all kinds of different things that I thought were really, really, really good. And one more thing is that he said you can't force a connection, which I think is really good, because I feel like some people do try to force something that is just not working. It's just not there. And you want to force it because you feel like this is the person that you have to have. And there's always red flags that sometimes we don't necessarily pay attention to. So I feel like we have to pay attention to those red flags and know that if the connection's not there, it's not there. And trying to force something is only going to just lead you down just a bad road. So I know I've talked a lot, so I will go ahead and let someone else talk. Kris, which of those 9 things would you say resonated with you? Or if none of them did, then that's perfectly fine as well. So
for me, it was don't let your emotions control you. We often hear a lot of the manosphere saying, oh, men are logical, women are emotional. And I think where that can take us is a lot of women thinking that they can act however they want to act because they don't have any, they'll use the excuse they're just emotional. But you have to be conscious and aware of how you are showing your emotions and how you're being received by other people. And so I was really happy when he mentioned this, because I always say, we're both, men and women are both logical. Logic is just reasonable. You have to back things up with reason. And there's a reasonable way to carry yourself. There's a reasonable way to show your emotions. And you have to know how you're feeling in order to do this, in order to reasonably portray how you're feeling on the inside. And so that goes back to what he said, go to a therapist if you need a therapist. Go through these emotional intelligence exercises so you know how to describe your emotions. So when you feel them, you don't just act out. You can tell yourself, okay, you're feeling frustrated because of A, B, and C, and then figure out a productive way to fix that issue with your partner, instead of expecting him to read your mind, which is another thing that he said in the video, being more transparent. And so I think it all kind of just starts with everything that he lists starts with controlling your emotions. You can bring peace if you know who you are. You're bringing peace to yourself shouldn't have anything to do with anyone around you. Even if he's not peaceful, if you're secure in who you are, you can see these red flags and leave if you have to, but you can still do it peacefully, securely. And so I really like that he said that. It should have been number 1. No, I think it was like number 5 or something. It should have been number 1. You start there. Figure out what the heck is going on in your mind and in your body before you even try to get into a relationship. Have some self-awareness, some self-control.
Thank you, Kris. Thank you. Appreciate your thoughts. Gator Girl says, okay, just went and researched the other points you listed. They're common sense. The video title is still kind of weird too. Yeah, you know, sometimes the title can definitely throw you off, make you not even want to look at something because you may get it in your mind like, you know, I don't know if this is something I want to watch. And it's interesting because you say that they're common sense. And sadly, we know that common sense is just not common. And so, I mean, even though there's things that someone might say, okay, well, yeah, duh, that's what you want to do. I feel like the reason why videos like this are made, and even when we as women make videos like this about what we need for men to do, is because even though they may be common sense, they're not done. And some people don't understand why they need to be done. So I feel like sometimes it's good to list certain things and say certain things so it can help those people that have that lack of common sense to know this is what you should be doing. This is what you might want to do if you're not doing it. And if you are doing it, then that's just great. That, you know, that just reassures you that, hey, you're doing things that you need to do. So thank you for that comment, Gator Girl 04. Always appreciate that. Queen Dom, was there anything he said that you thought was like, okay, I can see that? Or were you just like, yeah, no, I don't think so?
So I will say, a lot of what he said, if I do agree, I don't agree because it's about making a man worry about losing you or that it has to do anything with the relationship. Like some of these things just, you should just do in life. And I think it depends on the man. Like when it comes to emotions or being his peace or doing all these things, it will have to depend on what the man does for you, you know, and it will have to also depend on the women. Some women, they deal with mental health. You know, some women literally like cannot control their emotions, and it's not because they're women, it's because of a chemical inside of them that's imbalanced, you know. So I would say it depends. So some of these things, I mean, are they all the way wrong? Am I all the way like this is so slow instead of saying a bad word? But no, I don't feel that way, but I do feel like these are not, I don't know, maybe the title's throwing me off. I don't know. Maybe the title is just throwing me off. Maybe the way he's saying it is throwing me off. But I just feel like if someone's your piece, you're gonna be their piece. If someone makes you emotional, you have all your rights to act however you feel you should act. You know, some people will respect that you're loud and, you know, saying how you feel, and some people will respect if you're quiet. So just do you don't tell somebody what to do, just do what you want. Yeah, like, so some of it I agree with, but just in everyday life, like I don't feel like these are ways to make a man worry about losing you. No man should have to worry about anything. A woman shouldn't have to worry about anything. No one should have to worry in a relationship. It should be, I love this woman, so I'm not going to lose her. And if I do, that's because she didn't want to be with me. I love this man and I'm not going to lose him. And if I do, it's going to be because he didn't want to be with me. Or maybe there was something that I didn't want to do, but you just got to be yourself. And if he loves it, he'll be with you. And if he doesn't, there are billions of men in the world. And that's just how I feel.
Thank you, Queen Dom. So Luann does have something to say. After she says what she says, DJ Eddie King said, was there anything that we disagreed with on the video? So Luann, go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then we'll go ahead and answer DJ Eddie King's question.
I just want to say I agree with everything that Dom said. And to answer Eddie's question, I disagree with almost half of the whole video. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Luann. Thank you very much. And Najee said that her speaker is not working correctly. I can kind of tell because it sounded kind of staticky just now. So yeah, so we can hear her a little bit. So we were able to hear what you said, Luann. Thank you very much for giving your feedback. Definitely appreciated. Mrs. M3, I'm gonna have you answer the question of which of the 9 things resonated with you, and then if there was anything that you disagreed with in the video. And then I'll make it around the circle to ask that question. So Miss M3, it's on you.
Okay, so for me, I believe that for me, the biggest of the 9 was to listen to what your mate has to say. I know that a lot of YouTubers use clickbait, so the title didn't really throw me off. It was more like a catch you, come see what I'm talking about. And then when you open it up, it's, you know, he's talking about how you correct yourself. It's not little gimmicky things like how to catch a man or something like that. It's actual real things, as Dom is saying, that you would put into practice anyway, because you want relationships to work out. But specifically for me, what spoke to me, because I am such a person that can make assumptions about what someone needs and then provide that need when they've told me. So he was specifically, I forget which number it was, but he said, if your man tells you, you ask him for his birthday, what does he want? He says, you know what? I just want a pizza, a beer, and some sex. And you go and you're like, well, you know, I'm going to get him this wallet because he needs this wallet. His wallet's really raggedy, whatever. And you go and get the wallet and it's his birthday and you got none of the other stuff, just the wallet. He's like, I appreciate that, babe. And in the back of his mind, he's like, this woman don't listen to a gosh darn thing I say. Like, all I wanted was pizza, beer, and some sex. And this is the thing too. He said, you know, when your man asks you for things, if it's within your power to do it and it's not against your values, why not do those things? Like, sometimes he's saying, you know, for the people that he's spoken to, I'm not going to generalize, specifically the people that he's involved with in polling when he gets his videos together. He says the women assume, because of the hurts and the negativity and people that have lied to them in the past, that a genuine man that they're in a relationship with is not being honest with them when they tell them straightforward, this is what I want. And he says, because of that, the past trauma or past hurt, she assumes what's needed, but disregards what he's actually said. And for a lot of men, that's like, it's disrespectful, you know, not to disregard your values. If he's asking you to do something that's against your values, he's like, don't do that. Reevaluate. That might be a relationship you don't need to be in, you know? But yeah, for me, I've been that person that buys the wallet and forgets all about oh, they don't need pizza. Like, they just told me last week they're trying to lose weight, you know, and just making assumptions. But yeah, again, I looked at the video objectively, and right now I don't see anything that I disagreed with per se, from what he shared of the 9 things. I think implementing them, seeing how they work in my life, that's what's going to let me know whether or not I agree or disagree.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. DJ Eddie King says Luann says she disagreed with half the video. So what part of the video are you talking about? So I'm not sure if Luann would like to respond to that question. She is more than welcome to if she'd like to. So we will see if she would like to respond to that video or not. So as far as what I disagreed with, I don't necessarily disagree with anything he said, because I feel like everything he said is something that somebody needs to hear. So even if all 9 were not something somebody needs to hear, I feel like there's one thing in the 9 that there's somebody can say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I can agree with that. So I feel like everything he said I agree with, because I feel like he's saying what he's saying for a reason. There's a reason why he included that specific item in his 9. So for example, the one I said earlier about being his piece. I like what Queen Dom said as far as, you know, if you're his piece, he'll be yours. If he's your piece, you'll be his. I feel like I feel like that's true for some women. I feel like there's some women that's not true for. And I know certain women in particular. I mean, I'm not going to say any names, but I know some women that are not that way. So I feel like the things he says, I feel like are good, because there's somebody that one or all 9 of those things where they can actually reach out to somebody that needs to hear it. And it could be where you're doing something, you don't realize that it's something you needed to do, and he's stating it. So it's like, okay, now that light bulb comes on, like what Mrs. M3 was saying, where he says about, you know, he tells you exactly what he wants, and then you go get what you think he wants. And I think that even stems from, you know, when you are dating somebody and the guy tells you, or not even dating, you meet somebody, the guy tells you, you know what, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now, just trying to be friends. And then in a woman's mind, she hears, well, I know he says that, but he just hasn't met a woman like me. And once he meets me and gets to know me and spend time with me, he's going to want to be in a relationship because I'm not like these other women that he's dated. When in reality, you don't know what kind of women he's dated. You don't know what they were like in the beginning, middle, and end. And you're just making this assumption that what he's telling you is not really what it is, where if he says that, that's, you need to take it as what he says. If he says he's not looking for a relationship, don't have that expectation in your mind that he is. If that's what he says, take what he says and go with that rather than making your own interpretation. I mean, and I speak from experience because when I was younger, in my early 20s, you know, I heard him say that, but I heard something else. So you have to take, when he tells you that, listen to what he's saying. And when it comes to the gift thing, if he tells you these are the things that I want, you know, don't just assume that, yeah, I know he says that, but the other day, like Ms. M3 said, the other day, you know, he said he really wanted this. Let me get in that. I mean, he might like that, but get him what he said, exactly what he wants, to avoid having yeah, no, I said I wanted that, but I told you I wanted this. So it is about, I do feel like listening is a good thing, a good skill that anybody should have. I do feel like the things he say are common sense, but as I said before, common sense is not common. And even though we would think that, okay, yeah, duh, that's what you should do, there's always somebody that says, yeah, I don't think so. I don't need to be doing all that. But common sense is not common. So even things we hear that sound like, okay, well, I do those things. Like, you know, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Like Don was saying, you know, that's what you do anyway. There's some people that they don't do those things. So I wouldn't necessarily say I disagree with anything he said, because I do feel like everything he said that it applies to somebody somewhere. So Miss M3, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just remembered something else that he said in that same vein, like, so that same point he was making. He's like, you're on this video because you value him. You want to keep him in your life. So if he's worth keeping in your life, why not trust him? So if you trust him, then you're going to do what he's asking for you to do, because not, you know, that it goes hand in hand. You wouldn't want to keep someone that you don't trust. So if you're watching this video, it's because you want this person in your life. So start trusting what he says. Trust his words.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. M3. Gator Girl says, I know men still missing nutty broads who were peaceless, didn't listen, or were high-strung dramatic. Yes, that sadly is a common thing. And there are some women that they love drama. They love drama. She says I don't necessarily agree with any of those 9 things will make a man miss someone. And, you know, I can agree with that because, you know, there could be a woman that does those things and he still, you know, he still doesn't worry about missing her. He's still going to do his own thing. So, you know, as Queen Dom said earlier, you know, it applies to somebody. It doesn't apply to everybody because everybody is different. So I like that we're having this discussion because it's nice to hear the different viewpoints of what people agree or don't agree with, because it's nice to see when we can have this discussion to see who feels the way they do. So, but yeah, Kris, was there anything that you disagreed with about the video?
No, not really. And I feel like Mrs. M3 and I are like this, like everything you're saying, like reading my mind. One thing I did want to say though is that I think when a lot of women watch this, and I'm hearing this a little bit on the panel as well, is they think you can't tell me what to do. He's not telling anyone what to do. He's saying, well, he is in a sense, but he's not telling you to change you. He's not saying do these things to change who you are. He's saying do this thing that the man needs you to do so he feels fulfilled in the relationship as well. You know, if you're being fulfilled, maybe it wouldn't hurt for you to just ask him, is there anything that I'm missing? Because relationships take work. Unfortunately, they take a lot of work. My partner and I, we check in often with each other and we ask a lot of these questions. What's been good this month? What's been bad this month? What can I work on? You know, what's something that I did that we resolved it, but it's still kind of lingering. Like questions like this, because I can't read his mind. He can't read my mind. I need to know what I need to do to continue growing in this relationship so it continues to be strong. You know, at some point, it's the message that I feel like a lot of women miss with these types of videos, because they see that it's a man, they see that the title is not how they would like it to be, or the tone it may be off, but the message is extremely important. If it doesn't apply to you and the people just disregard it and be secure in your relationship. And then, because it may help somebody else, the same way we always say, well, some people do this or some people don't do this, then just leave the video for the people that it may help, because it may help some people, And so I think that's something that's really important. Like, these things won't hurt to try. Even if you think your relationship is going well, it's not going to hurt to ask him, what are things that I'm doing or not doing that you would like to see, or you would like to see less? And then ask yourself, that's something that you can do. Is this just a part of who you are, or is this something that you didn't even realize that you were doing and that you actually don't like about yourself? A lot of these things, how people receive you is a good way to start some self-reflection, introspection, because you don't even realize that you're doing half the things that you do. And it's okay to walk into a relationship and say, okay, I'm here to grow, because I'm not the ideal person. He's not the ideal person yet. We're both growing. We're both moving forward. Okay. And so if I want to be the ideal woman for my ideal man, what progress do I need to make? And then how is he going to receive that progress? I could grow, but then grow away from him because I'm not doing anything that makes sense to him, that fits him. If you love somebody, you should want to know what they need. I feel like it should be that simple.
Thank you, Kris. Thank you very much. We want to shout out Joe Williams, who is tuning in. Joe says, that's sad. It takes so much work. I think you need to find a soulmate and everything will be organic. Thank you for that, Joe Williams. Thank you for tuning in. Definitely make sure that you hit that thumbs up to like, and feel free to share this video. So this is one thing I will say. So, Mr. Hall of Fame says, I'm here. Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Hall of Fame. And CKQ is tuning in. Nice to see you, CKQ. He says one more time for the people in the back. And he says, well said, Kris. Okay, so this is one thing I will say. So I do feel that you can do the things that he stated in the video, and he can still not be happy. And I say this from experience. So my ex-fiance, that was one of the things that I did, was checking in. And at one point, I asked him if he was getting what he needed. And he told me he felt like he wasn't. And so I told him I wanted to make sure that I was giving him what he needed, because I do feel that your wife should be able to give you the things that you need. It's great if she gives you the things you want, but she should be able to give you the things that you need. And so I was going out of my way to make sure he was getting the things that he needed. So, I made sure that he was getting my undivided attention, because that was one thing that he felt that he needed. And so I was doing things that were out of my norm to make sure he got those things, because I wanted him to feel like he had what he needed. We ended up not getting married. Our relationship ended because he said he wasn't happy. And so I do feel like even when you check in, it might get to where they're like, you know what, it's just not working. And so you have to kind of take that and just leave it. And a friend of mine said to me that one of the things that I do is I make sure that the other person is getting what they need from me, whether it's somebody I'm dating, somebody I'm friends with, somebody who I consider family, somebody who my child, even the students that I work with. But she said to me that I don't always do a check-in with if they're giving me what I need, because for me, I get satisfaction in knowing that I can give them the things that they need, but I need to make sure that it's reciprocated. So I feel like that's something that needs to happen, is that it is reciprocated, that you guys are both giving each other what you need. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you definitely want to ask rather than assume. You definitely want to know what that person needs, because every person is different. Every relationship is different. What one person needed another person may not need, another person may need something else. And I feel like when you've gone through things in different relationships, if you haven't dealt with that, you bring it into that new relationship. You bring the things that that person needed into this new relationship, and then you come out with these assumptions about what this new person needs, rather than having this person be a new person rather than anything related to the old. So I do think you need to check in with that person, but you also need to do a check-in with yourself to make sure that you're not bringing in things that don't need to be brought in. So I definitely like what you said, Kris, as far as you and your partner checking in with each other all the time. I feel like sometimes that's just not done enough. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. Knowledge relationships. Luann's response to GJ Eddie, she says she doesn't really want to explain what she agrees with. She said Dom is really a two-way. It's really a two-way street. And he believes he's speaking one-sided. That's all I have to say. Thank you. So Luann feels that he's speaking one-sided. So yeah.
At the end of the video, he does say, like, you know, if you're a woman who's doing all those things, like, for example, with Dom, I think she was saying, you do those things anyway. Women who are already doing those things and their partner's still toxic, he's like, if he's bringing the chaos, and after you've done all that you can in that regard, you've taken care of yourself, you've presented your best self into the relationship, and he's still the chaos, it's time to walk away. Like, you should be looking at videos on how, you know, what's the next step, how to move on from a toxic relationship kind of stuff. So he does mention, you know, he doesn't think that either side is perfect. So that was one thing that he brought into that. He just left it at the end. And he said at the beginning that he would be telling more at the end, which.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. Miss Hall of Fame says, I need to say it like Ice Cube. Yay, yay. I'm sorry. Wow, that was funny. Okay, so, well, okay, that was funny. I'm sorry. Okay. Joe Williams says, like I said, from a veteran, if it's meant, it will work. If not, no matter how much you try, it just won't work. Sometimes people aren't compatible and they force it. I definitely agree with that. You know, and I feel like people don't pay attention to those red flags that appear. They don't pay attention to them. They ignore them. I know somebody specifically who it would be so funny because she would tell me, she would say, you know, oh, I prayed to God to give me signs if he's the right guy for me. And she would tell me about all these different signs that God had given her. And she would stay with this guy. And I would sit here and I would just be listening. You know, I wouldn't give my feedback because she probably wouldn't want to hear what I have to say anyway. But it's funny because I feel like when people do that, they it's almost like they ask God to give them signs, and then when God does, it's as if they respond with well, you know, God, I know I asked you for a sign, but I don't really know if that was the right sign you were showing me. So I think I'm gonna just not worry about that sign that you showed me. I'm gonna go ahead and stay because I know if it was a red flag, it would just be blaring and glowing. But that one wasn't blaring and glowing. So I'm gonna just go ahead and keep this going and wait till you show me the real red flag. And I feel like at some point, God just gets to the point like, okay, look, I done shown you everything. I done gave you what you asked for. You still think you can do it on your own? Go ahead and answer yourself and let me know how that works out. So yeah, you know, when something is toxic, you definitely want to get out. I mean, like Ms. M3 says, like you said in the video, you know, if you're doing those things and he's still, you know, it's still not where it needs to be, maybe that is a sign that it's time to go, because it is possible for you to be somebody that is already doing those things. But I feel once again that he made this type of video because there are some women that are not doing those things, and there are some women that may not even know what those things are that they need to do. So it's a video like, okay, well, if you're not, and I think it's more like, if you're not doing these things, these are the things that you should do. And if you're doing these things, go ahead and keep doing what you're doing. So I want to welcome Queen to the podcast. Queen,
hello,
how are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you. Nice to see you on here. We love it when you get on here. So we are reacting to the video. We're talking about So we and the question we had was, out of the 9 things that he stated, which of them resonated with you the most? And then DJ Eddie King was asking, was there anything that you disagreed with on the video? So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. So you can give us your thoughts on those questions.
I really enjoyed the video. I didn't think I was, because the title can mislead you. And I thought it was just going to be like, oh, you need to do this for your man. You need to do it. And it wasn't that at all. It was more so about doing it for yourself first. Then you can give it to someone else. That's what I liked about the video. It wasn't about tricking him. Like he said, no tricks, no manipulation, just being an authentic self. I think the 2 things, well, there were quite a few that stuck out to me, but I want to say number 1, and I think it's what is it? Number 3, when he talks about peace and, understanding that, your peace, your self-worth, it doesn't come from anyone else but you. And that you really have to work on that in order to bring peace. And it's true. It's like no one wants to come home to war. It's not just a man. No woman wants to come home to that either. And I think I don't think sometimes I can be conscious of that because of the work that I do. Sometimes I can bring it home as a social worker, and I can bring that war, that chaos, that trauma, that, it's that 911 emergency call it's just me every day. Some of the stuff that I've had to deal with. I mean, I'm definitely in a different area, so it's not as heightened these days, but I never thought about, what am I bringing home? Am I bringing home peace, or am I bringing home Hurricane Katrina? And then number 3, when he talks about specific needs, desires, and provide them. And I think sometimes, when you're with someone for a while, you can just assume, oh, he wants that. Or he looked like that. I mean, you may be able to read your partner or your husband, but it's nothing wrong with just being humble and go, hey, what do you need? And I think stop assuming, because then when, I know for me, when I assume and the response isn't well, meaning that it's not what he needed, I get offended. But the whole point is that I'm trying to help him, right? So why am I offended? You didn't want my help? What's wrong with you? Then it becomes another war day instead of me just going, hey, what do you need? Hey, I don't need nothing. I just need, I just need some quiet. Okay, cool. Like being okay with that. Like just asking and not assuming, no matter how long you've been with the person. So, yeah. And Eddie's
I like what
question,
you said.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you said Eddie's question was, did I disagree with anything?
Yes.
No, I didn't. Well, how can I
Thank you.
disagree? It's what a man wants. Why am I going to tell a man what he wants? How can I disagree? I may not like it, but then I got to ask myself, why don't I like it? Why wouldn't I want to be what my man wants me to be or needs me to be? Then I shouldn't be with him. I should be by myself.
Thank you, Queen. I really like what you said, as far as when you've been with somebody for so long, you can assume you know what they want. And then some people get offended when, you make that assumption and then he's not on board with that. So it is always good to ask questions. Even if you've been with someone for a long time, you definitely want to still ask questions, because those needs he has, they might have changed. You don't want to get your feelings hurt by him getting upset because, yeah, no, that's not what I wanted. So yeah, so I like that you said that, Queen. Thank you very much. So we want to give a shout out to A Unicorn Word is tuning in, said hi ladies, has said hey ladies. We want to give a shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in. Please make sure that you like, hit that thumbs up, definitely subscribe to Knowledge and Relationships, and please feel free to share this video. All righty, so I love what we got going on, ladies. Let's go
Dom
ahead.
wants to respond.
Yeah, I didn't get to answer the question.
Well, I apologize, Dom. Yes, Dom. Was there something that you disagreed with in the video?
Okay, so I don't think it's more, like I said, it's not like a more of a disagree or agree. I just don't understand why these videos are made. I think Gator Girl also mentioned something about these tips and tricks. Like, it just, I don't get it. But the one thing that, it was two things. One, I wanted to say, Kris, I do agree with you with the whole checking in with your partner. Me and my man, even though I definitely do know him a little bit better than he knows himself, and he will tell you, like, dang, I didn't even know I needed or wanted certain things until I met this girl, and that's why I'm in love with her. Because most girls, you know, he used to be very traditional. Like I said, he's from Africa, very the same way, you know, but listen, things have changed with me. So we ask each other. Most of the time I don't have to ask him. But yeah, just check in with your partner. But I also feel that's the way with everybody. When I have kids, I'm going to check in with my kids every year. Hey, I made you. Cool, but you didn't ask to be here. Is everything running cool? Is there something that mommy said, you know, that maybe, you know, hurt your feelings? Or is there anything, you know, that you need from me that maybe I'm not doing? I'm going to do that with my kids. So I think that's that's why I don't get the tips and tricks thing. I think that's an automatic thing you should do with everybody. As far as what I don't agree with, I kind of forgot a lot what I was thinking, but I don't think that anyone should tell anyone to control their emotions. It's up to you. Some people, if you hold it all in, it's bad. Some people, if you let it all out, it's bad. You do what you want to do and whatever works for you. For me, holding in my emotions will never work. And my man understands that. And he lets me release whatever I need to release when I need to release it. And I'm not being disrespectful to him, but he knows that's what I need to do. That's how I work, you know? So I think that when it comes to your emotions and what to do and how to do it and controlling them, and, you know, it just depends on, is it hindering your life? Is it helping your life? Like smoking weed. Is smoking weed keeping you in the house all day, or is smoking weed making you pass all your college classes? You know, like it's just up to you and up to what you need. I also think that when it comes to frick, I wrote some notes, but now I don't remember what they're about. But that, I don't agree with that. And I don't know, I forgot. Forget it. That's it.
No problem, Dom. Yeah, it'll probably come back to you, so don't even trip. So anybody who is watching, if you would like to join the panel, the link is down for you. So you can definitely come on in and give us your thoughts live.
Oh, I remember.
Yes. Yes, I knew it would come back to you.
One thing I wanted to say, when it comes to when your man tells you what he wants or what he needs, listen and do that. I think that isn't always the case. It depends. I'm the type of woman that I can read people in general really well. So a lot of times my man will say he wants this, but we have to remember, a lot of times men worry about our feelings too. So they might not 100% say what they want. So sometimes you have to read it and be like, okay, he said he wanted this, but I know my man and I know he's trying to do this for that. I know what he really wants. And you give him what he really wants. And he's like, ah, dang, babe, that was what I wanted. Thank you. I just didn't want to ask, or I just didn't want to say, or I just didn't want to, you know, whatever. For me and my guy, down to the point where when we go out to eat and his friends love it, he hands me the menu. Like, I don't need to look at that. She knows what I want. And that's at different restaurants. We eat all different kinds of food, different places, different this. And some things he's never even tasted before. But he's like, if she picks it, I know most likely it's going to be good. That's why I'm with her. So if you're a man and you with your woman because she knows you so well, because you don't have to make a lot of these decisions, because you work so hard or you do whatever, that's perfectly fine too. You have to know your man and know your relationship. Sometimes you need to listen. Sometimes you need to tell him, that's not what you're getting. That's not what you need.
Okay, so Dom, what I will say is, I feel like you and your man knows you to where you guys must have had a discussion at some point to where he understands that you need to let your feelings out, and that he's not necessarily going to take it offensive because that's just how you are. But I feel like some people don't have discussions. So I feel like when there's a certain assumptions made that you can do that, but you don't know your man very well, that's where the trouble comes in. So if you are with a man where your man knows, you know what, she is the kind of person where she needs to just let that out and not keep it in, that's one thing. But when you haven't had that discussion and you just doing all this kind of craziness, yelling all this kind of stuff, and that's not what he needs, and y'all haven't communicated. That's why communication is so extremely important. When that communication is there, it can get rid of so many problems that can come up. So I feel like, Dom, with you and your man communicate very well with each other.
So just to cut you, not to cut you off, Tammy, that's actually not true. We never had a conversation. It got to the point where he was like, I'm gonna keep telling her to chill out, and either she's gonna chill out or she's not, and either I'm gonna stay or I'm gonna leave. And then he realized she's not gonna chill out, whatever. But I still love her. Everything else is so great that I don't really care about her not chilling out. We never really had a conversation, or me and Ali, we go back and forth a lot, but that's the way our relationship works. Us bickering is the way we work, and people see us and they're like, you really argue and then kiss 2 seconds later. Like, I'm so confused. Every little thing is an argument. He's going to the bathroom. That turns into us going back and forth because we're passionate people. So we never had that conversation. I never had that conversation with anyone. It was just, you gonna keep telling me chill out, and you gonna keep learning that's just not what I do. You gonna deal with it or you gonna leave. We don't gotta have that conversation. So that's kind of how all my relationships have ever really went. Like, you gonna deal with this, or you can just be with someone else, but this is who I am. So that's just kind of it.
So I didn't say you guys had that conversation. I said you guys communicate. So you guys have communicated. Yeah, even if it wasn't like a verbal conversation, your communication is very well to where you guys know each other and know what each other needs. And some people don't have that. Some people don't have that strong communication or any communication at all. Where because they haven't had that, they make assumptions about what the other person needs. So even if you guys haven't had like a verbal conversation per se, you guys communicate with each other.
Right. You're right.
So, yeah. So you're good. Don't even
trip. To speak to that, I was thinking with relationships, like communicate, compromise, commit, and recommit, right? And it reminded me of a point that he made. It's escaping me right now, but specifically being able to work together is not always 50-50 in a relationship. Equality looks like everybody gets a lollipop, even if you don't like one. Whereas fairness looks like everybody gets what they want. It's not going to be 50-50 if, one person works and the other one doesn't, because that one person is always paying the bill. Say, for example, they work and they're like NASA, they're scientists, and you work, but you work at, I don't know, a job that pays you $10,000 a year. 50-50 says you split the bills down the middle. You can't even afford to pay all the bills. You can't afford to split 50-50. Fairness says you handle what you can handle. I'll take care of what I can handle. And that's the compromise and the commitment and recommitment. Sometimes you got a better job. Okay, so the arrangement looks different. We're committed to this. Now we're talking, we're communicating, and we're recommitting to a new regimen or a new something that works better for us. So that's kind of the 3 C's of relationship, kind of working like that: communicate, compromise, and commit, then recommit. The R.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. Thank you.
I wish he would have put in the video like how many men he talked to and what their responses were. And I think, we just need to be careful when we just say, oh, this person's this way, because life changes you. Life, things you go through, life changes you and your needs change with it. You're never the same person that you were when you came out the womb to the day you enter back in the earth. You're forever changing, as the blooming Ebony's name solidifies. You're forever blooming. You're forever dying, blooming, growing, whatever. And I think when we get into this, well, this is what it is, and blah blah blah, it can be a slippery slope. I know. I remember meeting with the marriage counselor, and she was saying that most marriages or relationships, when there are some honeymoon phases are quick, and some honeymoon phases last for years. And she said, and when the stresses of life, meaning job loss, death, whatever, mortgage, foreclosures, whatever happen, people change. And if you're not willing, if you stay stuck in how it's been, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a divorce. And she said, but when you're able to adapt and talk and not just assume, because she was pretty much talking about assuming, like, because we were at that point where I was like, well, he should know what I want. She said, he should never just know what you want. That's not fair. Because what you want yesterday may be different than what you want today. And if you're unwilling to adapt to that, that's what causes the resentment and the uncommunicated resentment that people build. And usually that's what ends up with cheating and infidelity, is because it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a uncommunicated resentment or hurt or need unmet. So you never want to just say, oh, it's just whatever, because it's never that way. No one stays the same. And you got to be, and I think what he was saying is that you have to be willing to grow and adapt and move accordingly, versus just saying, oh, it's just how it is and that's it.
Thank you, thank you, Queen. Thank you very, very much. Kris, you had something you want to say?
Yeah. Thanks, Queen, for mentioning that. People do change, and this is anecdotal. It's just my experience, but I know a lot of couples who are divorced, and you ask them why they divorced, and they say, "Oh, because they changed. My spouse changed." And then you talk to them a year or two after, and you ask them, "Oh, how are you doing?" You're basically asking, "How are you doing after being divorced?" And they'll say, "I wish I had just tried harder. I wish I hadn't gone through with a divorce." And people do change, people do adapt. And honestly, one thing that's really interesting about being stressed is that when you're stressed and your body releases cortisol, that hormone, what it does is it literally turns off your ability to see anything positive, which is why you can see a couple who is deeply in love, and then they have a stressful moment and they want to get divorced. And then you ask them in the divorce, well, remember the first time you met this person. How did you feel? What did you love about them? And they'll say, I don't think we ever loved each other. And it's not because it's true. It's actually because their brain has literally disallowed them from noticing anything but the negative. It's your brain literally playing tricks on you. And so this is why being open to adapting and growing is very, very important, and being aware of these little things about our partners. And also just knowing how people work in general can maybe help relationships be more successful. Of course, this is stuff that's, not really theory, but I'm not necessarily applying this in the marriage just yet. But when you really think about it, it makes logical sense, and it may be a little bit easier than what we think it is. And it takes work, but it's something as simple as being open to adapt and open to changing. And a big part of femininity actually is flexibility, is having that flexibility. And so if you're open, if you want to learn how to be more feminine, that is a pretty good place to start.
Yeah. And people will say, well, counseling is expensive, but so is divorce. And counseling's not forever, but divorce is.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, so Unicorn Word has a couple comments coming in. Unicorn Word said, absolutely key factor, lack of communication and growth. There was a couple other things that a Unicorn Word stated. I think Unicorn Word agreed with either Kris or Mrs. M3. I'm not sure. If the comment pops back up, I'll definitely read the comment if it comes back up. Luann, did you want to add anything to the conversation? DJ Eddie King did have a question he had stated earlier as far as what part you agree, but you did state that. Was there anything else you wanted to add? If there is, please feel free to let it be known. No pressure, no pressure. But yeah, if you definitely have something you want to say, you are definitely, oh, she was there, but she's not there anymore. Okay, so if she pops back on, I will ask her a question. Okay, so if nobody else has anything to add, we're going to go ahead and go on to question number 3. Okay, so I think this is supposed to see which of the 9 were you surprised, which surprised you, which were you surprised by. So were any of the 9 things that he stated, anything that surprised you? I'll go first, just because for me, nothing really, I can't even say they surprised me, and I don't even want to say that it surprised me he needed to do the video, because I feel like there is somebody who is not doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or even 8 or 9 of those things. There is somebody who's not doing at least one of those things. And there are some people that are doing all of those things, and maybe it's still not working. As he said, in the end, if you are and it's not, maybe you just need to go. Gator Girl says there were none that were surprising. So, and I know, thank you, Gator Girl. I know Queen Dom had said that, somebody else said that it's common sense. And I really do feel like the things he's saying, to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what you should be doing, Yeah, you should be listening. Yeah, you should be his piece. There's these things that some people are just automatically doing. So I couldn't say that I was surprised by anything. I think it's sad that there's people out there that are not doing those things that should just be something you do anyway. So I will say that. But as far as anything surprising me, not necessarily. Queen, what do you think? Was there anything that you heard that surprised you at all?
No, not at all. I think he hit it on the nail. I think it's very not all sense is common, not everybody's gonna get it, so I think the videos like this are, everyone's doing videos now, but I think videos like this is not necessarily putting down any one gender. It's just saying, this is what I know that the men that I've talked to say, but as women, you also need to do this in order to be this for someone else. So I think it's actually one of the more uplifting videos where it's talking about both people equally versus one or the other.
Thank you, Queen. Okay, so Luann has something she would like to say. Go ahead, Luann.
I agree with Queen. I agree that it's, and Dom, I truly agree with you, women. It's about just both people. And again, I think that when one person thinks it's about just them, it doesn't make it right. And for women who, and to me, in my opinion, for women to think that they need to give everything to a man in order for them to be a successful marriage, I think sucks. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your opinion, Luann. Thank you very much. All righty. So, Mr. Hall of Fame says, if your man wins the lotto, is it he won the lotto or we won the lotto? Shoot, if we we won the lotto. So I'm just saying, we together, we won the lotto. What you talking about?
Steve Harvey said, we like ice cream. And my man, he knows. I say that comment all day. We like ice cream. We like the movie Spider-Man. Okay? And that's how it goes.
There we go. Thank you, Dom. All righty. So, Mrs. M3, was there anything that surprised you? Any of the things he stated that surprised you?
Around 7, 8, and 9, there were comments he made. Well, I appreciated the fairness. Not everything in a relationship is 50-50, but I think a serendipitous surprise, like a pleasant surprise, thinking about the fact that, of course, anybody can walk away. If there's chaos and it's not working, don't stick around in that relationship. That was like 8 and 9 put together. But then 7 said rewards and consequences. Like, even when you're in a relationship, and men do it, they do this all the time. Rewards and consequences, like a person in a relationship with you should know, like, if you've expressed how you feel and if they express how they feel and something continues to be chaos, like there's consequences. And if it's, you know, this relationship is ending and you stick around, you tell them, oh, this relationship is over, and you stick around without any consequences, they're going to run all over you. It's going to be like, oh, well, you know, she said that, but here she still is. Maybe she's, you know, she thinks that I'm on her world, or maybe that's true. Like, she's created this man to be her world and she can't exist outside of him, or she doesn't have an identity, a self-worth outside of him. And now, oh, if something goes wrong, I just have to tolerate it. And so many women think that way. And he's like, you know, basically, no, a woman and a man don't have to stick around. When there's chaos, if your woman's acted up and you can't get her to focus or help the relationship be better, and all of a sudden here's, you know, whomever over here attractive and paying you attention, then yeah, you're gonna go where it's easy. You know, the grass is always greener on the other side. No, it's greener where you water it. But if you've watered and that grass is stubborn, it's not growing, you know, some kind of intervention has to happen. Either y'all go to counseling or you get divorced. That's, you know, and that was basically the last 2 points or 3 points that he made, 7, 8, and 9 points that he made. So I thought those serendipitously, that was like, yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. Thank you. MarioMarion says that when women get the lottery, you won't hear no we. You know, that's your personal opinion. That's your, he's right. When a selfish woman wins the lottery, they ain't gonna be no we. When she's a selfish woman, but if she ain't a selfish woman, that's a different story. So, you know, yeah, you better check them selfish women about that individualized eyes instead of that.
You want to test it? Take them to the casino, guys and girls. Take your post to the casino, test it, see what happens.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. All righty. So, Kris, was there anything that was said in the video that surprised you at all?
I was surprised when he gave the advice to be your own peace first. In the manosphere, we often hear men saying that they just want peace, but they don't go deeper than that by advising women to be their own peace as well. And so that kind of shocked me. I was really happy when he put that in. I didn't expect him to.
Oh, thank you, Kris. Thank you. You know, so for me, I can say that I wasn't necessarily surprised. I was glad that he did, because then it was like telling the ladies, like, yeah, you want to be his piece, but you definitely want to be yours too. So it was nice because it wasn't like, this is all you the only thing you have to do is do that. And he was like, no. Yeah, you want to be his piece, but you definitely want to be your own. So so I like that he said that as well. Thank you. So we have a guest, apparently. You guys, we have a guest who's popping in. So let's see. Yes, Dom, you definitely can. We have a guest who is popping in. We will greet the guest when they pop in. All righty, Queen Dom, was there anything that surprised you at all?
I think kind of like Queen said, there are, you know, like a lot of, you know, these types of videos, but I was surprised because I saw the title, and I know, Tammy, I told you I saw the title and I laughed like, nah, I'm not watching this. But it surprised me. It is one of the more positive ones. I mean, I still don't think it's necessary to be saying all this, but it is more positive from what I usually hear. So thank you, I guess, for that. I would say I wasn't surprised by any of these things. And as I said before, I think that if your man is listening to you, you're probably going to listen to him. If he's being your piece, you're most likely going to be his piece. I mean, you don't need to think about these things. As long as you love the person and you treat them the way, you know, that you feel you want to treat them, and they treat you the way that you feel you should be treated, you'll be perfectly fine. Also, I think that when it comes to certain things that you need to do out of these 9 things, some things this is all relationships. Some things people will let slide and they won't care about as much because of other things that you do, right? I'm a perfect example of that. Certain things I do, people may let slide. Like, people say to me, I don't know how, you know, you're able to do that. And, you know, guys or women and men treat you the way that they treat you, you know, and you act like this. And I'm like, well, it's because I do other things that you probably wouldn't do. So I think it's like Mrs. M3 said, balance is not straight it's not straight in the middle. You know, it's you may bring something and I may bring something else, you know, certain things you may let slide because I do other things. And so I think these 9 things aren't specific to any one person. If you need them, use them. If you don't, I don't know, just be happy.
Well, I like what you just said, Dom. Yes, if you need them, use them, and if you don't, there you go. Because there may, like, you know, we stated already that there may be somebody who's doing these things, and they may look at like, okay, I'm doing all those, I'm not gonna worry about that. There may be somebody who watches the video like, man, you know, I didn't even realize that's something I needed to do. And there may be somebody who's done those things and it still didn't work. So, and like I stated earlier, you know, the relationship I was in, you know, there were certain things that I was doing, you know, being his piece and listening and, you know, not all these different things, but yet that relationship didn't, you know, didn't continue. And so, you know, like he said in there, if you're doing those things and it's still not, you know, maybe that relationship, it's time for that relationship to end. So, you know, it is about paying attention to what you are doing and knowing when it's time to go. Paying attention to those signs that it's time to go and not sticking around longer than you need to, which is what some people do because they want things to work. That's even like where you have people that stay in relationships for the kids. And you can see that the relationship is clearly not working. And because you have kids together, you want to try to make it work. Well, kids are a lot smarter than people give them credit for. Kids are seeing things that you might not think they see. So you need to take that into consideration. And kids will thrive better in a household that is peace rather than a household that does not have peace. So, you know, some parents, they get along better when they are not together than if they are. So, yeah. Anybody have any? I think I asked everybody the question about if they were surprised by anything. If I skipped you, please feel free to let me know. If nobody lets me know that I skipped them, we will go on to question number 4. And our guest did not come in. They were, but I guess they disappeared. Hopefully they will come back so they can get on the panel with us and give their opinion live like we do. So other than that, we're going to go ahead and go to question number 4, ladies. Question number 4, which is, why is it so hard for some women to listen to a man when he says what he wants? This is a good one. I think I'm going to come to Queen for this one first. Queen, why do you think it's so hard for women to listen to a man when he says what he wants?
Because we're arrogant and we think that we know better. And we're operating in what the coin phrase I've deemed from Blooming Ebony, our masculine selves. Like, we want to be in control. We think we know what's best. And even if they're okay with it, that doesn't mean that they're okay with that. Sometimes silence is a deadly killer, you know? So you may think that they're okay with it because they're just going along with it. But then you find out years later, there's resentment, there's bitterness, and, you know, a side chick, a side family. And then you're like, what happened? You don't listen. You don't listen to me. You know, and I think when men say what they want, as much as we want to fight it, we need to just shut up and listen, or just be by yourself. What's the point? What's the point of being with someone you're just going to argue with and tell them, oh, no, that's not what you need. I know what you need. No, it's not what I need. Some men just get tired of fighting. So they just shut down. You know, it's not that they are okay with it. It appears that they're okay with it, but they're just like, okay, well, I don't want to hear her mouth. So yeah, okay, I'm cool with that. So
Interesting. All righty, Queen. Thank you for that. Kris, why do you think that women have a hard time listening to a man when he tells her what he wants?
I think it's mostly.
Hold on 1 second, Kris. Mr. Hall of Fame says that we are tired. He also had said, no quiet, no money. He says very arrogant. So, he says no peace, no money. And he says very arrogant. So those are his comments about why a woman doesn't listen, apparently. And DJ Eddie King says fact, Queen. So DJ Eddie King agrees with you, Queen. He says fact. All right. Sorry about that, Kris. It's all on you. Go ahead, girl.
I agree, Mr. Hall of Fame. Oh, sorry. I think it's raining. Can you guys hear that? Is it too loud? Okay, good. That's Oregon for you. Always raining here. I think it's ego. It's the need to, it's really hard to admit that you don't know something when you want to believe that you know everything, and I feel like we're in a position where not knowing everything is being vulnerable. Admitting that you don't know something it can be a weakness for some people, and they want to think that they know exactly who the person is. They want to think that they know everything about relationships. And I think they get to a point where if a man tells you what they want and you feel deep down that you aren't that thing, you get defensive because you want to protect yourself, protect who you are, protect this person that you've built. And it makes sense, but at some point you have to let your guard down and just listen to what they're saying, because they're not trying to attack who you are, especially if you've been with this person for many, many years. You love this person, you value this person, you care about this person, you should care about them enough to listen to their needs without taking it personally, unless it actually does conflict with your personal values, with your actual foundation. But yeah, I definitely think it's more so they can't admit that they don't know something, and they can't admit that they aren't perfect in all aspects.
Interesting. All righty. Thank you, Kris. Queen Dom, what do you have to say about why some women find it hard to listen when a man tells them what he wants?
I will say this. I can't answer that question because I don't know. There's different reasons why different women don't listen. So I'm just going to speak from my personal opinion on me, because I'm a person that everybody says I don't listen. But that's just me in life. No, it's not just my man. Everybody says that, Dominique, you don't listen. But guess what? On top of them saying I don't listen, most of the time they go, yeah, but most of the time you're right. So that's why I don't listen. I'm a person that I'm not going to talk about something unless I know I've researched it before, or, if we're having a debate about politics or whatever, I'm not going to get into it if I don't really know what I'm talking about. So when I do get into something and I'm passionate about it, it's like, well, because I know what I'm talking about. So I am right. So I think when it comes to listening, it's just like when I don't listen, usually it's because I didn't need to. And sometimes you don't always need to listen. Sometimes people just want to tell you something and you don't need to hear it. Sometimes they may say, hey, don't have that next shot. Okay, but I don't need to not have it. So I don't need to listen, and that's what that's me personally. If I feel like it's not hurting me or hindering me and it's not something that I want to do, I'm a very honest person. I speak how I feel. I say what I want. I say when I'm wrong or I feel that I'm wrong. I say when I feel that I'm right. If I feel I don't have to listen, then I'm not going to listen. And that's not a lot, because usually there's nothing you need to tell me because I already know what to do. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Damo. Mr. Hall of Fame doesn't agree with you, Damo. So, he said,
no, it's okay.
He does agree. He says you don't listen. And he says you're not right. So that's his personal opinion.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You can feel that way. And I feel like I am. And that's it.
Thank you. So Japrice Yoakum had made a comment and said, well said, Steiner, which I'm not exactly sure who that's referring to.
Stina. It's Stina. It's my nickname. My family nickname.
Okay. All righty. Okay. I was like, okay. DJ the King says you can't say what you want. So I don't know if that's a question, if that's a statement. Hopefully, he'll respond back with whether that's a question or a statement about if you can't say what you want. So before I give my feedback, I'm gonna let Mrs. M3 answer that question. Why do you think it's so hard for women to listen when a man tells them what he wants?
Arrogance for sure, but in this regard, I think it's some women get married and they have that ideal of what marriage is, and they have here's my dream, insert man. And then we go about molding that man and trying to shape that, well, I should say that individual, right? Because if he's a man, you're going to be met with silence or you're going to be met with aggression. And it's either going to work and you're going to mold together, or it's not going to work and you're going to divorce, you're going to separate, maybe even before it becomes a marriage. But I think that's the arrogance of us, especially those of us that are independent minded, career driven. We have this ideal, and we meet a person, we jive, we gel, we click, and then somewhere in there, we put them in the suits, we buy them these hats, and we look the perfect picture, and they're like, this is fine for now, but you know, I have an identity, and when I dated, it was enough for you, so this is who I am. And you get to meet their self and they meet yourself. They're not trying to change you, but you're trying to change them. And I think that's where the disconnect comes in. And couples can survive that phase, but I think a lot of couples go through it. And maybe it's, you know, especially in some relationships, it could be the other way around. It's, you know, the man that's doing that with the woman, shaping and molding, but she has a personality, and you know, people looking on the outside in like, man, she, compared to who she is now, she was a wild stallion, but it may not be that way. It's just, you know, that person was a freer character, and then they got married and kind of became that mold, or I don't know. That's the way I would explain it. Just everyone has their vision of what marriage and their mate will be, and then they get that person, and it becomes like, be this. And
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting. Thank you.
That's how I do it. Yeah, my view.
No problem. So we have a couple comments coming through. Mr. Hall of Fame said, you can mold clay, not a man. He said that. CKQ had a comment. He said, Mrs. M3, do you find a woman can mold someone into someone they will happily love?
I think I kind of answered that. Like if that person that you're with, like, you can't, my favorite song, K. Michelle, you can't raise a man. He's already who he's going to be, you know? So I mean, the younger you are together, like you meet somebody, it's your childhood sweetheart, you guys get married, you probably will forever mesh like that. But if you meet someone and you're already like 29, 28, 30, that person is grown, and so are you, and you're not going to be able to mold them. They're going to be who they are, you're going to be who you are, and you come together and, you know, either make it work or you don't.
Interesting. Thank you, Mrs. M3. Japrice Yoakum says, I believe it stems from childhood. They probably never had a father or father figure of authority issues. Interesting perspective.
Yeah. Can I answer to that?
Yes, you may.
Because I've already been honest and stated that I'm a person that everyone says I don't listen, and I don't really care that they say that. My dad, we have the greatest relationship. He's batshit crazy, right? He is very like, you're gonna do like this. He was very strict on everything, but that's where I get who I am from. You know, from my dad. I'm an independent girl because I was the only girl for so many years, you know? So he raised me in a certain way. My aunt is a certain way. Everybody on my dad's side, the woman, we're very independent. So my dad raised me. If you feel like you don't need to do whatever someone's saying, then you don't do it. You stick to how you feel and what you want to do. So I got that from my dad. My dad, he ain't doing what he doesn't want to do. If he feels like it's not messing with his life, he may listen sometimes, but if he feels like he doesn't need to, that's exactly what he's going to do. So I get it from the great relationship I have with my dad, and he is very strict, okay? When he talks, he's a little bit crazy. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Damo. Thank you very much.
Can I say something to CKQ?
Yes, you can, Queen. Hold on 1 second. So after that, Damo, I think Japrice has a question. He said, was your father in the home like a full-time father? So hold that thought, Damo. I'm going to let Queen talk, and then you can answer that question. Go ahead, Queen.
So CKQ's comment was something about molding a woman or a woman molding a man.
It was molding. He said, do you find a woman can mold someone into someone they will happily love?
Why would you want to mold someone into anything? Either that person is going to be with you and change to better your relationship, or you don't need to be with that person. That sounds, it's not so much as molding. It's almost like you want to control and have a robot. You know, they have iRobots out now that you can program to meet your every whim. So maybe you should go get one of them.
Yeah, you learn different. You learn different when it's a man. Yeah.
Okay, so Damo, was your father in the home like a full-time father?
So not in the traditional sense. So my dad is deaf and he did music and things like that. So he traveled back and forth between like Maryland and Harlem where we lived. And a lot of times me and my brother either went with him or we stayed home. So it was like half and half. Like either he was there or when he wasn't there, a lot of times we were with him when we were like not in school, you know, like everywhere he went, we basically kind of followed him. We've been in the studio with him. So he wasn't in the home every day because him and my mom weren't together, but they were cool enough where he spent whole weeks there when he was in New York. And then when he wasn't, a lot of times he took me and my brother and we went wherever he went.
Interesting.
I have a question for
Thank
you.
Damo.
Yeah.
Are you able to be influenced? Like, can anybody influence you, or do you learn from any?
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I said. I can listen. It's just what I guess a lot of people are not used to is I'm very strong on how I feel. So sometimes if I really feel like I'm not with that, then I'm not with that. But if I feel, yeah, of course people can influence me. I know so many people from different cultures. I wouldn't be able to be so open and free spirited as I am, do so many things that I do, you know, love so many different kinds of people, date women, date men. You know, you can definitely influence me, but there are just certain things. And I think that my strong stance is in regard to this video, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like if I'm not with it in a relationship, then I'm not going to make myself do something that I don't want to do, you know? And I think everybody should be like that. If you don't want to do it, but also I can look at something and say, okay, maybe I'll try it. Maybe I love to try new things. I'll try everything. So you can definitely influence me, but I definitely know who I am and I know myself. So some things I'm going to tell you no to, you know, and that's just it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Queen. So GJ Eddie King says you cannot say what you want in front of a judge. He said that's cap. And CKQ says to Queen, he was asking a question for what Mrs. M3 said. He said, but do you find two people can learn or mold each other in a relationship?
But the word is not mold. The mold is growth.
Learning and mold are different.
Yeah. So you need to know the terminology you're using, and you don't mold anything because it's not your hands. When you're molding something, you're in control of it. You control how it looks or how it spins or whatever else. You're not molding a relationship. What you're doing is you're growing in the relationship. You're becoming what each other needs, meaning that, hey, compromise and whatever. So it's compromising and learning, not necessarily molding, because you don't want to mold anyone. I wouldn't want to be with someone I got to mold. That's too much work. You know, I got to take care of myself first.
Molding and grooming are kind of the same when you talk about relationships, but learning is different. Yeah, learning and molding
groom you. Ain't nobody date no pimp. Pimps groom you and mold you. So that's not the word you should use.
Thank you, Queen. Earlier, so the moderator apparently has something that he wants to say. I don't know if he'd like to say it now because he had something.
Yeah, I got a whole lot to say.
Oh, there he is. Okay, so Mr.
Welcome, Mr. M3.
This is our knowledge and relationships moderator and creator, and he is here. He has some things he'd like to add. So we would like to welcome you to the Ladies Night stream. Welcome you to the panel of ladies, and you have the floor. What would you like to say, Mr. M3?
Well, thank you, First Lady Tammy, first and foremost. The first thing I would like to say, right, because I know in the number 4 question, and man, I'm like just juggling doing all these things at once. You said, why is it so hard for women to listen to a man when he says what he wants? And then I know you guys kind of shifted to molding, so I'll get to that part in a minute. But my thoughts, what I was gonna say with the number 4 question, it's funny because like I was watching a video, right, from O'Shea Duke Jackson, because I watch him a lot when he talks about celebrity news. And one of his recent videos, he was talking about the dysfunctions of the African American relationships. And so one of the things that he said that, you know, in his personal opinion, the reason why he feels like men and women don't really get along that well, and there's so much dysfunction, especially within the African American community, is because Black women don't really see a value in men. And so when you don't see a value in your spouse or your boyfriend or fiance, however you call them, or partner, then what happens is you tend to disregard his needs and his wants because you don't really care about that. You know, a lot of people tend, unfortunately, society tend to be selfish and they only focus on what they are getting out of the relationship. And so when the opposite gender sees that, that's when they feel like underappreciated. And that's why you have so much like dysfunction that's going on. Instead of just having a mindset to give into relationships or dating, um, you're always looking for, well, what can I get out of it? And once you have that type of mindset, that's when things in a relationship shifts. Now, to answer the question as far as, you know, like people like molding, let me see, what did he say? Let's see. To keep it simple, like you can't really mold anyone, you know. I know somebody said something about like pimps or whatever, or I can't remember where it was at, but somebody, or I think it was a Queen, or somebody said something about pimps mold people or whatever. I know an older man can feel like you can mold a young woman who is like probably like 18, between the ages of 18 to I would say 23 or 24. You could kind of try to mold her into the way that you want her to be, but you have to keep in mind that once you get up to like a certain age, you are set in your ways. You are what you are. So hopefully that part answers like the question to that, but that's just my personal opinion. So
Thank you, Mr. M3. Thank you very much. DJ Eddie King says, if you're being chased by a serial killer and you're in a hiding place, are you going to say what you want or are you going to keep quiet? I mean, that really ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. You know, so I mean, you know, that's a whole nother thing, you know, talking about serial killers chasing you and all that kind of stuff. So that is not really the same as talking about listening when we're talking about relationships and dating. I mean, hopefully you ain't dating a serial killer. So just saying. But Ms. Hall of Fame says give and take is very rare in Western culture relationships. Interesting. He says, and DJ the King says, so no, you can't just say what you want. You know, I mean, you know, you have to take every situation individually. So, you know, in some cases, it's a good idea to say what you want. In other cases, it's not necessarily a good idea to say what you want. So you have to take each case individually rather than collectively. Yeah. So, you know, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. So, you know, you can't use that as a blanket statement as you can't say what you want no matter the situation, because there are situations where that's just not the case. So, so yeah. And there are situations where it is the case. So, you know, if we do that, let's talk about, you know, salary. You start a new job, you know, you can say if they ask you what salary would you like to make, you can say what you want. And that's the case where you can. Now there's other cases when we're talking about going to court and you're in front of the judge, you know, it's different. So you can't use that one statement to cover everything because it can't cover everything. So, so yeah. So anyway, Other than that, oh, I was going to give my feedback on the question of, what was the question? See, I forgot what the question was. Oh, why women don't listen. Okay, so I do think it's a matter of, you know, I do think arrogance plays a part. I do feel that when you think, you know, based on what you've been through, you use that assumption to, you know, to determine what you're going to do. And you cannot allow whatever you've been through with whoever you've been through it with to determine what your decision is going to be. So, you know, and some people do, you know, they don't like to know that they're wrong. They like to know that they're right. So if you, you know, if you ask, if he tells you what he wants and you choose something else, you know, he doesn't necessarily like. And I think there was a video I seen one day of this lady who I think she bought her man like a business or something. And he was pissed. I mean, he was pissed about it when she gave it to him because that wasn't what he told her he wanted. And she thought it was a great idea because she, you know, she bought this business for him to invest in. And he wasn't happy. And where some people were like, oh, you know, why is he acting like that? You know, he should appreciate what she did. On the other hand, it's like, you know, yeah, he could appreciate what she did because it's nice if you want your man to do that. But if that's not what he told you he wanted, then you are kind of going on your own to say, okay, well, he should get this when he told you that he didn't want that. So, I mean, I just think it's a matter of, like I said, you know, based on what you've been through, you may assume in your mind that you already know, especially if somebody who is similar to somebody you dated in the past, you may make that assumption. So, and some people just don't want to be wrong. Some people don't want to hear, you know, and some people just hard-headed. Some people just hard-headed. So, you know, and then it's a matter of, you know, some people don't listen because they don't think that they have to, which leads to the hard-headed part. So there's a variety of reasons why some women don't listen, you know, and it's just hard to say because the reasons are so various. So, but Mr. Hall of Fame says it's rare because men don't want to lead and women don't want to be submissive. You know, there was the stream that they did on Thursday, I think it was, where they talked about that. And I think, you know, just the term, just being submissive, we're not going to get into a big old discussion on that because that would lead us into maybe an hour, a couple of hours of a conversation. But, you know, just briefly, I just think the term submissive has been misconstrued from what it actually means. And so there is a negative connotation that people have with it as soon as they hear it. So, you know, and when it comes to leading, you know, I mean, I think that there are some men that don't know how to lead. So they think they do, but they have a misconception of what it means to lead. So in both of those where you have leading and submissive, sometimes it can take on, somebody can look at it like it's a matter of being controlling and of being controlled. And some people don't like the idea of being controlled, and some people like the idea of being controlling. But it's a matter of, if you truly understood what it meant to lead and understood what it meant to be submissive, it probably wouldn't be taken in that negative way. But that's a whole another conversation. So anyway, MarioMarion says, Hall of Fame, it is because men feel like there is no hope in leading, or is it easier to be a follower? So Hall of Fame, that's a question for you. That ain't a question for us because it's directed to you. So he said, so yes. And he says, yeah, because most females are in Twilight Zone time. A Unicorn Word says some men confuse leading with controlling. Thank you, A Unicorn Word. Exactly. Some men confuse leading with controlling. Yes. And Mr. Hall of Fame says sometimes. There you go. Thank you, Mrs. M3. Lead by example. Mr. Hall of Fame says sometimes men got to take control. So what I will say is everybody's entitled to their opinion. We'll leave it at that. Okay, so if Luann, if you would like to add something to the question as far as why some women have a hard time listening when a man tells them what they want, you are definitely more than welcome to chime in on that. We are going to go ahead and get to our fifth and final question of tonight. So our fifth and final question. Our fifth and final question is popping up in a second. There it goes. It says, which of the 9, it should be 9, not nice, but which of the 9 things do you think women find the hardest to do? That's hard. I think there's a few of them that I could say some women have a hard time doing. You know, being his peace, I think is something that some people have a hard time doing, because sometimes we bring things home with us and we take it out on the first person that we see. I do think the asking questions, the listening, I think that I would say is something that we have a hard time doing. Yeah, I think that I could say is a big one. And it's not for everybody. So there's some women that don't have a hard time with it. There's some women that do. And so for the women that do, it's like, you know, that's something that you need to get into practice of doing. I mean, not necessarily just listening to what men want. Just listen when people are telling you what they want. You know, listen when somebody is telling you, you know, how they feel. Some people have a hard time with that. And I think just listening in general, sometimes people have a hard time doing because of the assumptions that they make. Even when it comes to parents and their kids. You know, some parents, you know, they assume they know what their kids need and want without actually checking in with them to ask them what they want. So I just think listening overall is a skill, and not everybody has that skill. And it needs to be put into practice. So that's my opinion. CKQ says, I think most people don't listen, but most people want to be heard. That's what makes relationships hard, because it's learning to listen without being on guard. I could definitely agree with what he says. Yeah, because there is a difference between listening and hearing. They are definitely not the same thing. And I think there's confusion on that. But yeah, I definitely agree with what he said. And the unicorn word says, Clement, that's a good point. So nice. All righty. So we're going to come to Mrs. M3. Which of those 9 things do you think that some women, have the hardest time doing?
I definitely agree with, it's the listening. Like, you hear what they're saying and then you go do something else. That's not listening. You heard them. It's not the same thing as following through on what they've said. And just understanding, like we were talking earlier, molding, grooming versus learning. Learning is a with together situation. You're doing this with one another, and it's not somebody doing this to you to make you something. It's not someone doing this for you because, you know, you don't know how to do it for yourself. Learning is a teamwork, an effort that brings two people together, as opposed to, I'm doing this because I want you to be this way, or I'm doing this for you because I don't think you know how. Learning is a with and together more action. So listening.
Thank you.
Requires listening.
Thank you, Mrs. M3. Queen, which of those 9 do you think that some women have the hardest time doing?
I think it is emotions. I think a lot of women think it's okay to go crazy and just, oh, this is how I feel. You just got to deal with it. And it's not fair. It's actually very selfish and very damaging to a person, because no one is supposed to hold all of what you are. That's not fair to anybody. Because if you could hold it, you wouldn't have to go off. So you can't even hold what you are. So I think that's the most damaging one. I think it's because it trickles down in so many other things. There's no peace. There's no positive energy. There's no building up. It's just blah. This is how I feel. Take it. You know, and whether it has nothing to do with the person or not, there's a way to communicate your frustrations versus just dumping and vomiting on someone who, I mean, picture this. I'm a visual person. How many of us would just let someone come up to us and vomit on us? Nobody. Because guess what's going to happen? You're going to end up vomiting, right? It's a chain reaction, so it's damaging, and I don't think we take our emotions and what we are feeling seriously, and how damaging it can be to the other person. So I think that's the biggest one.
Interesting. Thank you, Queen. Okay, so Mr. Hall of Fame has a couple things he said. He says,
You ain't
I ain't
gotta
got to
read
lead
that.
by example. Look, either be submissive or move over so the next one can come through. You know,
Clowning.
you say some things that amaze me. He said, I ain't learning nothing, only God can teach me. He said some things that just, you got them people that set themselves apart from others, and you just gotta wonder. You just gotta wonder about them, but it's gonna be all right. Mr. Hall of Fame, if you need a hug, that's all you gotta say. If you need a hug, you're gonna be all right. We're gonna pray for you, Mr. Hall of Fame. Because only God can teach you. We're gonna pray for you. We're gonna pray for you. All righty. So, and then CKQ had something to say, something that he had said. He had said, a unicorn word. Good to see you typing. LOL. Thanks. All righty. And then, and Mr. Hall of Fame says, don't touch me. Oh, you're gonna be all right. You know what? Prayer, you ain't gotta touch nobody. When
He doesn't want any hugs.
Right, not even a physical touch, but you could touch someone with your words. So that prayer is going to touch you with its words. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Amen. 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 All right. I think Luann has something to say. Miss Luann, please feel free to say what you would like to say.
I don't think any of those things really matter, because I feel like if a woman wants to do, nothing is really too hard for a woman. If she wants to do it, she will just actually do it. So she doesn't really need a man with little fingers to tell her anything. Thank you.
Oh, all righty. That is her opinion. If you got little fingers, don't say nothing to her. So, all right. All right. Okay. So, Kris, which of those things that he stated in that video do you feel that some women find the hardest to do?
Yes, I was going to say what Queen Forever said. So I guess for me, I think all of them. I think because a lot of them, they require accountability. And we often hear, when you tell a woman, be your man's piece, and they immediately go, well, he's not my piece. Instead of us just focusing on what we can do, what is your role? Control the things that you can control. If you are doing what you need to do and he's still not being who you need him to be, then you leave, because you can't change him. You can't control him. Accountability is so important, because if you are able to look into yourself and say, this is what I need to do, this is what I didn't do well, and this is what I'm going to do going forward, then what he does shouldn't even matter, because then you can say, okay, he's not aligning with me. I think I'm doing everything well, but something's going on with him. So he's not for me. He's for somebody else. And maybe I attracted him when I wasn't in the best place. And now I'm in a good place. Let me go out and try and attract somebody who's better, who fits me. And accountability is so important for that reason. It's not looking at yourself and putting yourself down. It's looking at yourself so you can take steps forward. And so I think accountability with all of these things, instead of pushing it onto the man and saying, well, he did this, look at yourself and say, okay, what did you do? Who cares about how he responded or what he did? Just control what you can control, which is what you put out.
Thank you, Kris. I really like what you said, and I love that you mentioned accountability. That I feel is one of the hardest things for people to do, because accountability requires you to look at yourself. And some people don't want to look at themselves and see what is wrong about themselves. You want to see what's wrong about everybody else but yourself. So, yeah, accountability, definitely. I love that, Kris. Thank you for that. Thank you. E-Black says he's listening in this, and it's very enjoyable. Well, thank you, E-Black. Thank you very, very much. We've had a couple other comments coming on in. Let's see. Mr. Hall of Fame, Luann did respond. So I did let her respond, but thank you for noting that. Caprice Yoakum says, oh, wow. He said, oh, wow. And Miss Oliphant says, no, you can't, Luann. He says, no, you cannot. Caprice Yoakum says, yikes. I love my little sound effects. Yikes. And then DJ the King says, yes, you do need a man to tell her what to do. So that's what DJ the King says. And a unicorn word says, somebody put him in the corner. Loving it, loving it, loving it. And CKQ says, that was Petty Penny. So he was letting him know that was Petty Penny. And Miss Oliphant says, your fingers are smaller than mine. So he's letting you know that your fingers are smaller than mine. And a unicorn word says, oop, oop. All right. Oh, and E-Black. Oh, we read that one. All righty. So we have come to Miss Queen Damo. Miss Queen Damo.
Hey.
What would you say out of those 9? What do you think is the hardest one for some women to do? What would you say?
So once again, I would say I don't know. I know some women who don't like to listen. I know some women who listen a little too much. Some do it right. I know some women who I wouldn't be able to say that I know just a bunch of women that don't do a certain thing. Most of the women that I know are in happy relationships. I have friends, like I said, in their 20s that are married, that got married during COVID, before COVID. So these questions, I don't really like, it just depends. How would I say? It just depends on the person. Once again, some people don't care if you yell. Some men, it goes in one ear and out the other. Some men like it, some don't. So just do whatever that specific man that you're with is doing. If you're looking for a certain type of man and this is what he likes, then I guess be that,
Thank you. Thank you, Damo. All righty. Okay, so we have come to the end of our lovely, lovely ladies' night stream once again. Right now, we're going to have each person go ahead and say their social media, where you can find them if you are looking for them. And we are going to start it off with, we're going to start with Queen. And then if Miss Luann is able to, we'll go ahead and have Miss Luann come on in after Queen. Queen, oh, never mind, Mrs. M3. There we go, Mrs. M3. It is your turn, my lady.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. We appreciate every one of you coming out and the comments. We so thank you. You can catch me here every Saturday on Knowledge and Relationships. Thank you so much for tuning in. And a special shout out to my uncle, JGB. You know who you are. I won't say your name in public because you're so private. Love you so much. Take care. Good night, everybody.
All righty, Queen, it's on you.
Hello. You can reach me on Instagram at QueenForever2K21. And you can find me on the Knowledge and Relationships platform, Lady Stream, and every other day they stream. I might pop in, say my little 2 cents, and pop out. So thank you for tuning in and have a great night.
Thank you, Queen.
Hello, my name is Kris. You can find me on YouTube at The Blooming Ebony and on Instagram at The Blooming Ebony, talking about femininity, accountability, and everything blooming. Thanks for having me again, Knowledge and Relationships.
Thank you, Kris. All righty, Queen Dom.
Hey, I just wanted to say what I would tell my younger self. Someone asked that question is, at this point in my life, I would tell my younger self, you can be with just one person. Make sure you find a man that will allow you to also be with women when that time comes and you need that. And to just be a better person in your previous relationships, because the one you have now is great, but you could have been this nice to people back then. Also, you can find me at the Queen Dom on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff. You can find me here, Ladies Night Stream, and everyone have a good night.
All righty, Miss Luann's turn. There she goes.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Luann Love. Also on Instagram, Ladybug5150. And on Saturdays, you can find me here being as petty as I know how. Love you guys.
Thank you, Luann. And we're down to me, your host, First Lady Tammy. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on Instagram, First Lady Tammy 916. You can also find me on the Knowledge and Relationships channel. I'm doing my vlog of my Cry Slim journey. There's been 13 episodes uploaded. I'm getting ready to do the episode 14 to give an update. I'm also going to start doing poetry on my Instagram and also hopefully uploading it to Knowledge and Relationships. You guys can check that out. You can find me here every Saturday hosting the ladies stream. You can see me on Mondays and Thursdays when I come into the awesome topics that Knowledge and Relationships does. And I guess that's all I have to say while the spotlight is on me. All righty. So thank you once again for tuning in. Next Saturday, we'll have another amazing topic for you guys. Saturday, we will be doing this at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time rather than 5:30. But it's going to be amazing as it always is. Definitely hit that thumbs up to like this video. Definitely share this video. Definitely subscribe to Knowledge and Relationships and anybody else's channel that has been on the stream tonight. We thank you for tuning in, and we are looking forward to seeing you coming back again. Thank you so much to everybody who commented, everybody who tuned in, and we will see you next time. Bye. DJ.